Good morning. My name is John. This is my Module 6 journal entry. The resource that I interact with a lot in my city is public transportation. So I'm going to give you a look into my daily commute. It is 4:50 a.m. We are on our way down to the 1 train. My commute starts with a 1-mile walk. I hope you enjoy our look into New York City commuting. I'll see you in a bit.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music for my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. Yeah. Yeah. On the road again, like a million since we go down the highway with a blast of roads, insisting that the world be running our way, and our way is on the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. The life I love is making music with my friends, and I can't wait to get on the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. I can't wait to get on the road.
Hello. So that was a peek into my daily commute. So let's get into the cold, hard facts about my consumption habits around that commute. So I'm just going to read off the questions right over your shoulder here, and don't mind me when I look away to read my notes. How much were resources consumed each day? So my commute's 2 hours and 40 minutes round trip. Hour and 20 going, hour 20 coming back. So 2 hours is on the train, 40 minutes is walking. I have a 1-mile walk each way. So, that takes me 20 minutes going, 20 minutes coming back. There is a 300-foot elevation gain coming home. So, it may take me a little bit longer on that end, but I think what we're really concerned with is the public transportation side of this, right? So 2 hours on a train for the day. Was more of each resource consumed than necessary? No. So instead of walking every day, I could take a bus. The thing about that is buses are unreliable at times. They break down, they get caught in traffic. I would have anxiety if a bus was late and then I would be late to work. So yeah, that's not an option for me really. It doesn't matter the weather, rain, snow, I'm walking there, I'm walking back. How were each of the resources consumed? Right, so this is going to be a bit of a lengthy topic, right? So the New York City subway system is run on high volume energy, right? So it runs off a third rail system, which feeds 600 volts, like 622 volts into the system, right? And that energy is coming from the New York City power grid, So the subway doesn't have any emissions, but the power grid does, and it runs mostly on natural gas, which is a fossil fuel. There is a little bit of nuclear power, and they are also using some like hydropower and wind and solar power for the system, which is good. But mainly it runs off of natural gas. So that's one resource that's getting consumed from the subway system. And then there's other things like brake pads for the trains, labor for operations and maintenance, mechanical systems, plumbing systems, electrical systems. So all of those things are being consumed when you ride the train. Okay, let's get to section 2. Are the consumption habits better or worse than expected? Better than I expected. I knew public transportation was an eco-friendly way to get around, but by doing research for this project, I found that the carbon footprint for this subway system generates 0.108 CO2 per passenger mile, which is 10 times less than car emissions. I didn't realize that, and so I'd say 1,000% better, or at least 10 times better. Trends. Did you notice any trends in consumption habits? Yeah, so trends that I notice on a weekly basis are, Mondays the ridership is less, Fridays the ridership is less, and then sort of the ridership increases. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, it being peak crowdedness coming home. I leave early in the morning. You saw, I actually left earlier than what the video had me leaving at. I leave at 4:30. I take the train to go to the gym, go run in the park, and then on to work. So leaving that early, the ridership tends to stay the same in the morning because there are more service industry workers, blue collar workers that don't have the option of a hybrid working environment. So they don't get to do, say, work from home 2 days a week that maybe an office worker would have. So in that way, the ridership kind of remains the same on that early morning commute. But yeah, those were sort of the trends that I noticed on that. How do consumption habits relate to sustainable development as a whole? So using the resources that I described, the natural gas and the mechanical systems and all that, when you use those things for a group, that's more sustainable than using your car to drive, still using the same or 10 times more emissions just for a single person. So I think that's, it makes the resources go further, right? Okay. Changes in human behavior, what can change now? Right, so things that are changing now in this city at least, and probably I think in Seattle, and a couple other cities in the country, they have put in congestion pricing. So when you drive below a certain point in the city, you're charged a toll. I think it's a $9 toll for like a one axle vehicle when you go into the congestion zone. So that was put into place around a year and a half ago. And the statistic is, so far, it's reduced emissions in the city by 22%, which is great. That's a fantastic metric It shows that it's working, right? There's more people on public transportation than driving. I think driving was down by 1.2 million vehicles. I mean, there's still over a million people that drive their cars in the city to commute, but that's a big change that they can do now. Also, I'm not a huge fan of this part, but we can use. They've been putting up a lot of bike lanes in the city. They're unsafe, in my opinion, the way that they're rolling it out. They put them next to where the driving lanes are. So if you make a left turn, say in the city, you not only have to watch out for traffic, you have to watch out for a bike. And a lot of the bikes don't stop. Like, they're supposed to follow the rules of the road. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but let's just say bike lanes would be a great change that I'd like to see, but they need to do it better. They need to protect the riders a lot more. I would love to ride my bike to work, but right now I don't feel safe enough to be able to do that. What can be changed over time? I think what they're doing now is trying to the transit system is trying to change to clean energy over the next 100% clean energy over the next 15 years. So I just think that would be a great change and very useful and helpful, over time. Without the use of fossil fuels, I mean, that's sort of what the big deal is now, right? Like, we're seeing a lot of like greenhouse emissions and like ozone issues because of fossil fuels. So, like, the theory of Occam's razor here, right? The simplest explanation is usually it. You gotta stop using fossil fuels at some point, right? They're not, they don't regenerate. We got to move to solar, wind power, hydropower. I mean, all of these things are an option for us, right? How are these changes? How can these changes reduce consumption or improve sustainability? Helps the environment, right? Provides jobs in the sectors for clean energy. I think when you're also talking about clean energy, you're talking about a more localized type of energy, like solar power. If a building's supposed to run on solar power, you want the solar panels on the roof of the building, right? So that creates more jobs in the sectors where you're going to be using this clean energy. I think that you would have to train the folks on installation and how it all works, but I think it would be an economic boost, jobs wise and jobs creation wise. So yeah. Pros and cons of these changes. Look, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Stop using fossil fuels. The environment's going to be cleaner. Bike lanes, it's going to be healthier for folks to ride their bikes instead of, just sit in the car and drive their car. I think in this country, we've become a little bit too comfortable. Nobody seems to really want to challenge themselves on a regular basis, which, challenges build character. They in a lot of ways make you want to be better, I guess, for lack of a better term. So yeah, that's it. That's my submission. So what's up? That was pretty good. All right, cool. Have a good day.